Welcome to Retro Scale Modelling. For my next build, I'm building this Airfix Panzer 4. Scale is 1/76. It's quite an old kit, been revamped. I do like the box art on this. Inside the kit, I've already opened it up. We have the small decal sheet. We have the sprues, there's 4 in total. Like the other revamped kits, these are quite nicely moulded. Nothing off the sprue, which is unusual for Airfix, but good to see. Don't like this colouring, but I'm priming it anyway. The track and the instructions. So as before these 1/76 kits, the instructions are quite simple. In the older type as well for you to follow. Looks a little bit complicated there, but so that's just the wheels. And we have the 2 variants. Not sure what variant I'll do. I'll decide later on. So for now, I'll go and prime them and get into the build. To begin with, I'm painting the tyres in its life colours UA734 dirty black rubber shades. And it's just the rim that I'm painting around here. For the central part of the wheel, it's Humbrol 94 brown yellow. The wheels are a simple construction, it's just the 2 halves married together. The other wheels are smaller guide wheels. They are quite small, and it's just 2 little parts together like the main wheels, but they are tiny. There's no issues placing them onto the sidewall of the tank, onto the suspension springs, which are moulded onto the side of the cavity here. The location points they just fit in, there's no need to open them up. I'm moving on to the turret construction here, and with all this kit is a simple construction. These are just 2 halves put together before some armament goes on the sides throughout the turret. The container or toolbox part that sits at the end of the turret, make sure you get it on the right way. I can really only fit one way, but it's easy to get it upside down. There is a small location point halfway down the part for you to locate it better. The command position, there's a couple of little doors to put on. You can have these open or closed, whatever you prefer. The doors come in 2 halves, and once it's been, it just pops on. There's a slight lip to the turret command position, so that you know that you what position to put it in. Moving back to the track, to the wheels, and I'm using Humbrol 70 brick red. This is for the darkish brown colour. Then I'm moving on to 117 US light green for the green colour. This forms part of the camouflage. There's no opening on the gun barrel at its tip there. So what I'm doing is I've got my pin drive, and I'm just going to open that up. So first of all, on the side piece, there's the indentation there. So that was easy enough to drill a little hole into it. And then I moved to the tip of the barrel and done the same again, drilled a hole until it reached the central part of the gun. So once that was drilled, that was a simple case of the construction for the gun. If you want the gun to move, make sure that you don't glue the housing in. It will sit in there without any glue. You can put a little tiny bit on the bracket to hold it in position. Then it's a simple case of just pushing the gun inside the housing. I'm closing up the tracks, and what you do is get a metal rod of some sort, heat it up, and then pass it over the joining of the track, and that creates the weld to close up the track. I'm now placing the wheels onto the lower hull. This is a bit tricky to do. There's not a lot of surface area for the sidewall to hold onto the hull. They've got a tendency to angle in, so be careful when you're doing this. I've now run into a problem. The middle section of the hull, the part that the turret sits on, is missing from the kit. I didn't realise at the time, so I'm having to scratch build it. So what, I've got a piece of plastic card here, and I'm just marking out the area that needs to be filled in. And once I cut it out, I checked it for fit. Now I'll just bring up the instructions here so you can see which part is missing. This is the part there that my tweezers has pointed out. It's just not on the sprue. I went back on the photographs I'd already taken before I started the kit, and it simply wasn't there. So as you can see, I made up the sidewall of the turret as well. Now I used a combination of the parts that were there and some plastic art to get the length and height that I needed. I then placed the large piece of plastic card on top of it and cemented it into place. Once it was dry, I just took it off. The last two grey pieces of the plastic you see here, I took these off because I couldn't get them to sit properly while this was in situ. Because my cut wasn't 100% straight, I'm having to put in a little bit of filler just to plug that little gap there. And I'm using my own filler. This is just a melted down sprue that I'm placing in. I'm placing on the two little parts I took off. These are a very weird shape, and the instructions weren't exactly which way they went. Hence why I took them off the plastic card and placed them on the actual unit, and then checked it for fit. I then trimmed the plastic card to the sidewall to make sure that it was all within shape. I've also marked the plastic card as well where I'm going to be putting the hole for the turret. And it's a simple case of just drilling out the hole for the turret to sit on, and then I was able to check it for fit. I actually put it too far forward, I didn't realise at the time, but I'll address that. Now for the engine exhaust, what I'm using here is a baking mat that you can find in any goods baking store, and this is an old one, and I'm just trimming it up, taking all the excess off to the size that I want. But before I put them on, this is where I realised I put the turret hole a little bit too far forward. Once I put the two hatches on, I realised it was too far forward and the turret would bump into them, but that wasn't a problem. I simply drilled another hole just down from the one I originally drilled to get the turret to fit in the correct position. It's back to the exhaust, and I'm using some copper wire here just to create the grill effect. So just a little bit of super glue along the part that I cut out, and I'm just laying it down into a lattice work. And once it's dry, I simply just cut off all the excess. I then used some super glue to secure the two vents. I also added a little rectangular piece in between the vents to, I don't know what it's for, but the model appears to have it on the picture in the box. I then used more copper wire to outline the canal that holds the turret. Next is to fit the kit parts to it. So this is the forward gun that's going on, and one of the viewing housing screens that go on next to the gun. And that's the upper part of the hull built. It's a little bit crude, to be honest with you, but I think it'll do the job. If the kit was a larger scale, then I would have more of a challenge, I would say, trying to recreate it. And all that was left to do was to fit it on inside the bottom plating. Now I'm painting the turret in 94 brown yellow, and this will be the base coat colours, like the wheels. You notice as well I've already primed the secondary hull, ready for painting. And in fact, now it's primed, you can see it looks like part of the kit that was already supplied. Well, I think it does, anyway. Now the kit's had its base coat, it's time to put on the tracks, and these simply just stretch over the wheels. And once that's done, I can now attach the top half of the hull. For the rear attack, there's a cylinder that you make up that sits in its bracket. I should point out as well, I forgot to mention, when I was making up the secondary hull, I left a little gap for this rear part of the hull to fit. I wasn't sure exactly how far it would swing into the hull, so I left a gap. But the part I've snipped off I've kept so that it will join the rear part of the hull, so when the two come together they should meet. But before I do that, I'm just placing on the front lights, as well as the holder for the extra the extra wheels and so on. So just all the little pieces of furniture going on now. And once that's dry, I can place in the two spare wheels. And now to fit the rear section of the hull. So remember, this top lip would not generally be on the kit. This is the little part that I added to fit up to the hull that I scratch built. And now painting in the main camo, so it's a 78 brick red from Humbrol. I'm starting off with the gun first, then working my way down onto the turret, and then finally onto the main body of the tank. And with Humbrol 117 US light green, it's the same process, just working all the way around the tank. Now you can do this looking at photographs and so on, depending on what sort of camo you're doing, or you can just paint to what feels right to you. And once all the paint is dry, I used Pledge Clear Varnish to coat the whole paintwork before going onto the weathering. And working with Tamiya Weathering Master Series B, the suit component, and Weathering Master Series C, the gunmetal component, I'm just going around the kit weathering all the raised areas around it. So I'm just placing on the decals here. There's only about 6 in total that you have to put on. They're going on the usual way, softening up in water, adding my decal solution, and then of course putting them in position. As I said, there's not many to go on here. Well, that brings this build to an end. A little bit more of a challenge than I was expecting, especially having to build the secondary hull or the upper hull. I wasn't expecting that at all. I think I've got it to a close approximation how it should be. I would recommend this kit for anyone, if all the parts are there, that is. You can get a lot out of these little kits. It's all up to the user how much they want to put into it. So if you haven't done so already, why don't you check out the channel for my other builds, or indeed for the 176 series that I'm doing. Subscribe to the channel for upcoming updates. Hit that like button and of course leave a comment. But for now, thank you all for watching. Bye bye.